Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest narration of the web series The Human from a Dungeon. If you're new to this series, there is a playlist listed down below in the description, and as always, I hope that you enjoy. Chapter 98, Bodus, Adventurer Level NA, Elf Kakennen. Madam Bodus, a letter has come for you, the innkeeper greeted me. She disappeared behind the counter and popped back up, holding an envelope. Thank you, I replied as I retrieved it from her. You're welcome. Have a restful stay. I nodded absent-mindedly as I checked the seal on the envelope. The Maxim family's crest, a unified chieftain-style full-plate helmet with twin axes crossed below it, stared up at me from its waxy abode. I rushed to my room and broke the seal, impatiently pulling the letter from its envelope. I stared at it for a moment, almost afraid to read it. This type of communication was fairly new to me, and I'd never written a letter directly to Lord Maxim before. My nerves nearly got the better of me as I wondered if I'd followed all the proper conventions correctly. Then there was a matter of the content of the letter I'd sent. I'd written to Lord Maxim whilst I was still unsure about Lord Vasselmyro. The many classes I've attended since have revealed the Lich to be both kind and compassionate. I'm not even hesitant to admit that I've grown to both like and admire him. I'd been sure to include Lord Vasselmyro's account of what happened to him. But what if Lord Maxim doesn't believe it? What if my benefactor and master orders me to do something or worse? What if this letter is informing me that he is taking action himself? What if I'm severely inconvenienced both Lord Maxim and Lord Vasselmyro due to my ignorance? My heart thudding my chest, I began to read. My most loyal Bolus, I am pleased to hear from you, though I had not expected a letter this soon. You were right to write, though. This is a rather unusual situation, and I do not fault you for seeking guidance. Lord Vasselmyro's recount of what happened to him is heartbreaking, and insofar as I can ascertain, potentially true. There is record of his father growing ill of mind in his latter years, and according to all official historical texts that I could find, he simply disappeared. There was, however, a much maligned account that matched Lord Vasselmyro's quite closely. It isn't included in official accounts because it was believed to be anti-magic propaganda. I breathed a sigh of relief, then chided myself. Of course, Lord Maxim would do his research before coming to a decision. He has a strict morality, but one does not become the head of a powerful clan by being unreasonable and ignorant. I should have done my own research on the matter before bothering my master with this. For context, this alleged propaganda was penned by Lord Vasselmyro's own mother, Princess Yelincia Vasselmyro. By all accounts, she doted on her son and despised her husband's obsession with magic. Whether or not she loved Imlar the Grand is actually a matter of debate amongst historians because of the various incidents in which they fought regarding magic. There were also various incidents in which she protested, sometimes violently, matters involving magic. The deployment of the magic cart saw her physically attack someone. Another person who suggested building a magic research center received a box full of feces from her, and she even threatened the Grand Mage of Calcutta with bodily harm when she suggested continuing Imlar the Grand's research. There were many more incidents, all of which paint Lady Vasselmyro as being staunchly opposed to magic, or at least the advancement thereof. I felt a pang of empathy for my teacher. His mother had hated magic, and his father had been obsessed with it. Even if they were both loving and doting parents, which seems unlikely given how things ended up with his father, it must have been difficult being raised in the midst of such animosity. What could have brought Lord Vasselmyro's parents together in the first place? Was it a young love that turned sour with age, a marriage of convenience, politics? I doubt I'll ever find out. The historical records indicate that Lord Vasselmyro suffered a massive decrease in reputation when it became known that he had become a lich. His various guild memberships were revoked, his Cura card identification was smelted, and he was banished from no less than 6 realms. As such, when Lady Vasselmyro published her account of what happened to her son, it was widely believed that she was attempting to salvage her son's reputation while simultaneously damaging her husband's and spreading her anti-magic beliefs. Having read her account and your letter, I would agree with the experts that she was attempting to spread an anti-magic sentiment. However, Lord Vasselmyro's reputation prior to these events was serene, better, I dare say, than even his father's. Surviving records of that period show him performing acts of unreasonable charity, healing all he could without regard for reward. He even went out of his way to teach as many as he could the healing arts so that people could live in health when he moved on from an area. When one also considers his relative youth, it seems extremely odd and unlikely that he would suddenly turn to a lichdom. This period of history is now considered to be frankly quite dramatic. Without boring you with the details, one would imagine that newsprinters were struggling to pick which events should appear on any given day's headlines. As such, it can reasonably be assured that tempers were flared, and many of those involved reacted to what happened to Lord Vasselmaro without fully thinking things through. With the benefit of a cool mind and hindsight, I find credence in Lord Larry Vasselmaro's account. It is my belief that High Chief Ullamark likely has come to the same conclusion. I breathed another sigh of relief, leave it to my master to perform a full analysis of the situation before coming to a conclusion. I had been wrong to be nervous about his reaction, and chided myself for it once again. Blessed be I to have such a keen mind to seek guidance from. Then I glanced at the next few lines of the letter and cringed. That being said, you're in a better position for analysis than I. A lich is a terrifyingly powerful being whose form is quite intimidating to most mortals. I ask you, my dearest servant, is it possible that your reservations are due to the nature of his existence rather than his actions or words? If you conclude this to be the case and have made a public display, I urge you to issue an apology as soon as you can. If, however, you have reasonable cause for your concerns, I would have you send me the full details of these concerns, which I will then bring to High Chief's attention. Study well, Lord Alventus Maxim. Yes, my lord, I muttered to myself. I had no reason to doubt Lord Vasselmaro's other than the forced upon me by your over-dependence on the written words of others. Gods, I'm a fool. I leaned back in my chair and played with my hair. With some careful prodding over the course of many classes, we revealed that Lord Vasselmaro was in search of a way to escape his fate. The human had already known this, but it came as a revelation to Earl, Ler, and myself. Those who would choose lichdom over morality wouldn't see it as a curse. They would already know about what would happen to their physical form, and would have already chosen to make that sacrifice for the power that comes with it. Lord Vasselmaro's desire to become mortal again was revealed to us with such conviction that it was impossible to doubt. And in turn, it confirmed his victimhood, for me, at least. I sat back up and set the letter down, only to discover 2 more sheets of paper tucked behind it. Postscript. Lady Ilana would like to remind you to both eat and sleep in sufficient quantity. She is stricken with recollections of finding you unconscious in the library and worries that you may be missing meals. I have done what I can to dissuade these concerns, but it would be appreciated if your next letter would indicate that you are taking care of yourself in this regard. The lady additionally demands that I clarify that you must be honest with your assurances. Lady Ilana's concern for my well-being brought a sad smile to my face. Even her position as the wife of one of the most powerful orcs in the land couldn't dissuade her fussy nature. If anything, it enabled it further, allowing her to act as a mother to all who'd put up with it. I brought my attention to the second step of paper. Postscript. Little Dinas would like to extend the offer of swordsmanship training in exchange for magical tutelage upon your return. As you are aware, he has only just begun his own training, but his instructor indicates that he's quite skilled. By the time you take your new post, this may be a fair offer. Of course, you may accept or decline at your discretion. For the sole sake of your awareness, should you decline, he will likely counteroffer with a bribe of sweets. He has haggled a deal with a local confectioner that sees him receiving free sweets in exchange for an endorsement amongst his friends. His tutor is having him run extra laps with this in mind. Tears rolled down my cheeks as I stifled a sob. My studies and worries had distracted me from how much I miss everyone back home. The message from little Dinas had been quite the blow. I'd been present at his birth and tended to Lady Ilana as the midwife had gently removed his exoskeletal growths. His siblings were much older than he, and all of their own duties that frequently took them away from the manor for extensive periods of time. Once he had learned to walk, he had taken to following the help around as they performed their tasks. When he was old enough to explain himself, he had pointed out that we were the only people around that weren't his parents. As Dinas grew older and more educated, he began to single me out. Me would make small talk whilst I handled menial tasks, and he would watch closely as I performed tasks that required more attention. One day, he voiced his desire to become a butler like me, and my heart swelled with pride. However, I had quickly and harshly reminded him that being a member of the Maxim clan came with its own set of responsibilities, and becoming a butler would be shirking those duties. I do not know whether it was my admonishing tone or the content of my speech, but he cried for the first time since he was a babe. From then on, he opted to follow me around less and less. It was what I deserved. Deep down, I dared to imagine that we were friends, an aspiration far above my station. Furthermore, I had repaid his perceived friendship with a lecture. It was a situation that had haunted me. But now, the fact that Lady Alana and Dinus had thought to include messages to me indicates that they were thinking of me. It's easy to imagine oneself as completely expendable, even disposable, whilst in the service of one so powerful and influential. Dare I imagine, even but for a moment, that they miss me? My thoughts turned to how they were made aware of my communication in the first place. Lord Maxim does not receive his mail announced. It is delivered to the manor and stored in his locked study, with letters of importance being given directly to him. This means that he must have told them that I had written. In a flight of fancy, I imagined the family excitedly talking about my letter at the dinner table that I previously stood beside. I wondered if someone else was filling the void my departure had caused. Surely so, for whom else would be able to tell the waitstaff when the drinks and condiments were running low? My longing to return to my masters caused me to weep silently for a time. Once my tears ran dry and I cleared my nose, I began to write. My exhaustion faded a little as I recounted my education thus far, my perception of Lord Rosselmira, and a paragraph about the odd human friend that I had made. I swore to Lady Alana that I was eating and sleeping properly, and informed little Dinus that I would gladly give him lessons on magic upon my return. Then I thanked Lord Maxim for his guidance. Once the letter was finished, I took my rest. End of chapter. I would like to thank our T5 members and patrons, Casper Arnholtz, Jon Creighton, Vidmori, 050, Dragzoon W.R.E, and Elijah Silvercross. Thank you very much.